Ease of play. So what I mean when I say ease of play is I mean that anybody from your uncle to your granny to your grandpa to your dad to your little sister to your little toddler cousin can pick up that game and have a reasonably fun time playing with it. That's not saying that I want your little toddler cousin to be playing a shooting game where there's cussing and stuff blowing up all over the place, but you get my idea, right? So the thing with Battlefield, and this has always been with Battlefield, is that it's more of a squad game. Each person, if you're playing this game properly, each person in your squad has a specific role he or she plays in that specific game. And it's basically to enjoy the game to its fullest, you need to assess your squad and be able to, you know, use each of its individual aspects and utilize that to attain the objective. And what that tends to happen is that there's a lot of different layers you have inside the game, and that each player has, like, when they first spawn in, they have a host of different options that they can apply to that specific situation. Like, you can whip out your rocket launcher and blow a hole in the building, or you can just straight up, like, try to shoot your way through the alley, or you can take a medic and just try reviving people and so you can get your tickets back. And, you know, there's just all these different applications you have, and it's really mind-boggling to the person that, you know, first joins the game. It's like, oh my god, like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to get in the chopper? Am I supposed to go with them? Oh crap, the chopper's blowing up. What do I do now? Do I jump out? Do I get in a parachute? What do I do? Like, to really be good at the game, and like not even be good, to have a reasonably fun time, and that I mean by, you know, just do pretty decent, like get some kills in that game, you need to know what you're doing. I don't know why these guys are burning. Oh, they blew up, right, I forgot. Never mind. And you need to know what you're doing, and you need to be able to assess the situation, and you need to utilize it properly. So, in that regard, I don't think Battlefield 3 is suitable for everybody. You really need to be able to understand how deep this game is to be really able to get the full value out of the game. Now, for Modern Warfare 3, something that the Call of Duty series has always prided itself on is that it's this deep game, right? But it's really easy to get into it, and I think that's something that, like, all the Call of Duties have done reasonably well. Anybody can pick up that controller and get at least 1 or 2 kills, like, for every, I don't know, like 10 deaths. Like, even your basic novice can do that, and it's just that to be good at the game, there's a lot of depth that you can use. You can use a lot of strategies. You can have these specific points, choke points, rush routes, camping spots, whatever, name it. It depends on your playstyle. But like on the surface, anybody can really, you know, just pick up that controller and do good. Something that you cannot do in Battlefield. You need to know what you're doing, otherwise you're gonna get raped up the ass. And the thing with Call of Duty is, like, you know, aim down the sight and shoot. At the basic level, that's all you need to do. There's no different classes, and, you know, you just pick your weapon, and most of the time, like, what I've seen, at least in my friends, like, you know, people that have never played Call of Duty, what they do is like, oh, it's an AK-47. Huh, I've heard of that one before. Let's try using it. And then they go on a multiplayer game, and then they, you know, they shoot a couple bullets, hit a guy, and, like, you know, the health is pretty small in Call of Duty, as you all know. Like, Battlefield 3 has more health per character than, you know, Call of Duty series has. But, and, like, you know, they get 3 shots on a guy and they get a kill. I mean, like, yeah, sure, they're gonna get killed half the time while they're doing it, but, you know, they'll get a kill on a, like, you know, a consistent basis, you know, 1 or 2 kills every 10 deaths. Like I said, you can always do it. And then, you know, noob tubes, I mean, as a person that's been playing Call of Duty, and I consider myself, you know, pretty decent Call of Duty player, noob tubes, you know, they've never really, I've always hated them. I never see the reason why Infinity Ward keeps on putting these things in games despite, you know, people obviously hating them. I hope they learn a lesson from, I had hoped they'd learn a lesson from the last game, but obviously not, because, you know, they have this China-like type of thing. Okay, random tangent. But anyway, but, like, the thing with noob tubes and second chance and, like, stuff like that is, you know, people that have never played this game before can still drop in and, you know, have a reasonably fun time with it. And that's something I think that is very important, you know, when you're considering sales as a factor, that anybody can pick up the game and have a fun time with it. So ease of play goes to Modern Warfare 3, just because it's such a game that you can pick up and play and anyone can do it, but it still requires a certain amount of skill to assess its full depth, and, you know, to be actually a really good player, you still need to, you know what you're doing. But anybody can pick up the game and have a fun time with it, and that's really, really important when you're thinking about sales. So next up, we have realism. And what EA and DICE have tried to achieve with the Battlefield games is to really deliver an authentic war experience on the battlefield. Haha, pun. But yeah, they really have taken it to the next level in this game. First of all, the amazing graphics obviously lend a lot to realism. But check this out. He picks up the LMG. His accuracy is complete crap right now because he's standing up, right? And that's what usually happens when you're shooting an LMG. If you do it standing up, your accuracy is going to be really bad. Watch how like the dust is like shooting up everywhere where his bullets are landing. His cover's getting blown up. And watch this. He goes to the ground. Look at how accurate that is. That's almost as accurate as the ACR is from Modern Warfare 2, if you know what I'm talking about. But look at that. He goes to the ground. And you can, if you listen closely, if you listen really closely, they have even the little things down, like, you know, the clips falling apart from the guns, like the gun shells. And then you have the explosions where you have like a din and right after the explosion. And then it just lends itself so well to create a proper atmosphere, and while always like, you know, keeping it fun while also maintaining the realism of the experience. And then look, watch this. All these shells are just pouring down on you. You can hear each and every one of them just hit the ground, and then none of it goes away. Like all the explosions you see, it says consistently on the screen. It's not, you don't have disappearing corpses and stuff like that. And all the explosions, the cars blow up, the flames linger on, and they have a realistic lighting expression. Like, you know, they light up their area next to them. And yeah, like realistic comm chatter and like how people would speak, and it really drives it to the next level in realism. Like, watch this part. I think this is one of the parts that nails it in terms of realism. There's a sniper. He shoots that guy. Blood splatters on your face. Everyone you starts yelling at sniper. They call out their location like any obvious, like, you know, any soldier with common sense. This guy drags him into cover. He doesn't just, you know, lie over there. Checks if he's alive, and, you know, everything. It's not like a Call of Duty game where you just have, you know, a guy shot, he dies, and, you know, you move on. The guns, they recoil very realistically. They're not just like, you know, straight up or like straight to the right or something like that. They actually recoil. Like, you have the balance and the weaving, and like the scope is actually, you know, bobbing with the bullets, and that really, you know, it creates this tension while you're shooting. Like, you actually feel like you're shooting this gun. Like, it reacts as a realistic gun would. And then if you fast forward to this part, hold on. Like right here, he calls out the rocket coming, stay away from that truck, but no, he was near that car when it blew up, and so he actually got pushed back by the explosion. I mean, it's those little touches that really drive you into the game world. I mean, outside of graphics, you need to have those, like, you know, things that you would expect to happen in a real environment. And look here, he's like burst firing because the guy's far away, and then the cover breaks off as it really realistically would. And I think DICE really nailed it in terms of realism and making you feel like you're actually in that gunfight. But let's go ahead and see if Modern Warfare 3 can beat Battlefield 3 in terms of realism. Okay, so now this is Modern Warfare 3's turn, and I think this is where Modern Warfare 3 and Battlefield 3 really separate themselves. Well, Modern Warfare 3, this is a game which places, like, fun, like, just old fun over realism. If, like, you know, if anyone's played Call of Duty, any Call of Duty after 4, they'll know that the gameplay is basically defined by perks. And these perks are basically like these enhancements to you, that make you, you know, run faster, or like, you know, have unlimited ammo in place of one-man army. These things really, they're not realistic, whereas they're more like, you know, fun things to, you know, differentiate you and give a strategic element to the multiplayer. And what Battlefield 3 does to take this approach is, like, you know, this is what I've heard at least, is that they're gonna, you know, take the Medal of Honor way of doing it and make everything in the ammo, which I think is a much more realistic approach. Like, you have like open what is it, open point bullets or something like that. I'm sorry, I might have just, you know, said it completely wrong for all those gun fanatics out there. But, you know, they actually take it to a much more, like, you know, what actually happens on the battlefield. Like, you have different situations and you have to adapt to them by changing your ammunition or changing your rifle. And in that case, I think Battlefield 3 has the realism down much more than Modern Warfare 3. So the winner in the realism category is Battlefield 3. It has taken its hands down with its realistic approach to the battlefield mechanics, and, you know, really presented a situation where you actually feel like you're completely in the battlefield. So Battlefield 3 wins. Let's check out the next category.